Hi friends, it's Madame Fromage. I'm inviting you in the kitchen today for a cheddar tasting. It's such a popular style of cheese, and not a lot of people know about its process or its origin. So I'm going to tell you how cheddar is different from other cheeses, where it originates, and how to pair it and share it with friends. In fact, I'll also be talking about beer and hard cider in this video because those are two of my favorite things to pair with cheddar. So if you wanted to set up a cheddar tasting, I suggest you try two styles. The first, the original cloth-bound style of cheddar, which originates in Somerset, England, and block cheddar. Block cheddar is made all over the world, and you see when you go to the store, great cheddars coming in from Australia, New Zealand, Canada, all over, and of course here in the United States. Cheddar, the recipe was actually brought to the Americas in the pockets of the colonists, the British colonists. And so the very first factory cheese in the United States was a cheddar factory. So it's one of the reasons it's such a persuasive style. Original cheddar was made in drums. That's why this is such a different shape. And it was wrapped in cloth. Think of it sort of like mummification. The drums are wrapped in muslin. They are smeared with lard, which I know sounds a little weird, but it's sealed in moisture. And then they were put into a cave, and that process allowed for a long aging time. And if you think about it, cheddar is often sold by age or mild, medium, or sharp, and that's because it is a style of cheese that takes well to the aging process. Block cheddar is made in a similar way, but there's no muslin coating, no lard smear. It's simply created in a block and then vacuum sealed and aged that way, so much more convenient. This style developed during World War II when cheese making was consolidated, and it was just much more convenient to form in blocks. As you can see from these two, the one on the bottom is a lot younger. It's more moist and supple, really just a great snacker. And then the other one is aged. You see some crystallization forming. And hopefully what you also notice is that there's a little bit of cragginess, and that's from the cheddaring process. Cheddaring actually is much like sausage making. It's an extra step in cheese making that doesn't occur with really any other cheese except for a few very historic styles. And the curds are literally drained of the whey, pressed into blocks. They're flipped a few times and allowed to drain. This is to get all the moisture out. And then they're run through what's called a peg mill. It looks like a sausage grinder. And these rice-sized grains form that are then packed into the wheels. And that is why when you open a cheddar and you break into it, often it crumbles a little bit. The great British cheese writer Patricia Michelson says that a great cheddar should taste like a scone in terms of texture. So it should be moist but crumbly. So you'll notice a cheddar often has a great dampness to it, especially the young ones, but then it breaks apart into this kind of wonderful crumb. Pairing cheddar, depending on the strength, can take a lot of bold flavors. That's one thing that's fun about aged cheddar in particular. Because it has sharpness, because it has acidity, aged cheddar in particular is great with things like mustard, dark beer, horseradish. That's one of the things you often see woven into cheddar, right? You'll see peppercorns, horseradish, mustard seeds in cheddar. And that's because it does have that bright hook on the finish when it's aged. I also love to do apples with cheddars of any strength. Grapes are wonderful. Oatmeal crackers or rustic bread. Marmalade, also delicious. In terms of drink pairings, typically you would go for a Pinot Noir in the world of wine. In the world of beer, I love an IPA, a hoppy IPA. The sharper the cheddar, the hoppier the IPA you can go. Also, an oatmeal stout is one of my favorites, or here I have a nut brown ale. For a cider, try a tart cider because the tartness or tanginess of the cheese really works well with other tart flavors. So that's one thing to remember. And then if you're not imbibing, just remember a great ginger beer or a kombucha, like a ginger kombucha, can be great with cheddar as well. I think cheddar is a great snacker. It's a better snacker than it is a melter. That's because it's on the dry side. But it's really fun to plan a cheddar night. Try some different beverages with it, try some different ages, and then try the two styles. If you want to explore historic English cheddar, look for a West Country farmhouse cheddar. That is the PDO designation, protected designation of origin. It's also part of the slow food convivium, and there's just a handful of families still making this style of cheese in Somerset. And then by all means, try some of the great block cheddars that are out there. Note the flavors. Cheddar often will really take you on a journey for your taste buds. It's a lot of fun to play around with, especially as it gets more aged. Madame Fromage, wishing you well and hoping that this March you get to have some beautiful cheddars on your table. I want to thank my sponsor, iloveimportedcheese.com, for allowing me to pick a different great cheese every month and tell you what I love. Cheers.